Hello, everybody. This is Rev Sue Frederick. Let's have a mystical conversation, the kind where we lose ourselves in the wonders of divine mysteries, share dreams from the other side, intuitive nudgings, and soul mission yearnings. I'm Rev Sue Frederick, a Unity minister, master numerologist, and author of the Angel Up book series, the newly revised Sacred Numerology Workbook, and my newest book, Angels and Numbers, the Sacred Language of Divine Guidance. Our guests today for this mystical conversation are two extremely angelic, powerful, beautiful souls, Lee Carroll and Monika Muranyi. Now, you may know Lee as the channel for Kryon, and that's a whole nother story. He's going to explain here how that all got started. Lee and Monika are the voices behind the Kryon Teachings. They channel profound wisdom from higher consciousness with warmth, humor, and compassion. Together, they have brought the loving energy of Kryon to audiences worldwide for over 3 decades. Through Lee's live channelings and Monika's deeply researched compilations, they bridge cosmic wisdom and human understanding, offering messages that awaken our divine potential. Lee is the author of 14 Kryon books and the co-author of the Indigo Children, an Indigo Celebration in the Indigo Children 10 years later. These Indigo books introduced the world to the term Indigo Children in the year 2000, spawning many follow-up books and movies and documentaries. And so when you hear about Indigo Children, think about Lee and Monika. They were talking about that generation coming in and changing the world. And look out, world, it's happening. Monika is the author of 4 Kryon books that provide detailed information about subject-driven topics. Her first 3 books, The Gaia Effect, The Human Akash, and The Human Soul, revealed, help tie together the complex subject of who we are and why we're here. Her most recent book, The Women of Lemuria, relates to all things Lemurian. Their work continues to inspire millions to live with purpose, intuition, and trust in the universe's benevolent design. Welcome, Lee and Monika.
Oh my goodness, Sue, hearing that introduction, if it wasn't about us, I'm already mesmerized
Who are
by
they talking
who are
about?
they talking?
What
Who's
is
she
what is
talking
going on here?
about?
We're the wrong show. She's introducing other people here. Who's that?
I
Thank you so much.
love
Great
that.
to be here.
You two are so amazing. And, Lee, I just want to go back to you're so well known as the Cryon channel, but I'd really like to know you started like in the 1990s, and that was not a time when a lot of people were talking about these metaphysical truths. So, how did that all begin for you?
Sue, I want to be clear to everyone that you just said a mouthful. This is why we look at today and say, you cannot tell me that we haven't had evolution in consciousness.
You are
Because
so right about that. You are so right.
in 1989, when I actually started 3 years before that. That's another story, getting to the place where I actually committed to it. Then it took another 3 years for me to actually understand what was going on because I am still and was an engineer. I mean, electronics engineer. Now, that is very different. I did not believe in any of the things that I teach today. There was no reason to. It had to be shown to me, and it was. And that's the reason that I can sit here today. But you ask about, then, and truly, we had situations, many situations where we were shut out. We did, we started very small. We started in Unity churches, and then you know
I
that.
love that because I'm a Unity person, a Unity minister. And way back in the 80s was my first time in Unity, and they were all about metaphysics and Course in Miracles and channeling. And you were one of those speakers in the late 80s and 90s.
Yes, and we've even been to Unity Village. Then they opened with open arms. They
Yes.
accepted us there. However, what I wanted to tell you when we did a lot of meetings in bookstores as well
Uh,
back then. Bookstores that had a space for meeting. This is in the very beginning. We
Mhm.
also did it in people's homes. We were just getting started. And the funny thing, we did it in a bookstore in the South, and it had astrology on the front of it and all that. We were picketed. They lined up across the street and picketed us because we were evil. So
I am not surprised by this. I grew up in the
today,
South, by the way, so
well, you don't have that today. In
right.
fact, the program that you are presenting is proof of that. And then even more, it's what's going on again with people like you, and other young people who are introducing things that only people that were over 40 would ever talk about in the 90s.
Yeah.
So you really have a consciousness revolution,
Hmm.
and it's beginning again with the young people, and I'm seeing it clearly
Yeah.
because this is a prediction that Kryon had with the Indigos. And it's just remarkable to watch this. So this is the beginning of something even new that we'll
Mhm.
talk about if you wish to. But when you take a look at what I started and today, it's just absolutely radically different. And I celebrate the difference every day.
And I love it that you started as an engineer. My dad was an engineer, and I came from a line of very left brain engineering people in my family. And my dad would always go, like I'd come to the table as a kid and tell about a dream that I had, and then it would come true that day. And my dad was like, explain this to me, Sue. I don't understand. As an engineer, he had a curiosity, though, like he said, I just have to understand how this works. And back in the 60s, he would take me to the library to try to figure out how psychic phenomena could possibly work. So I love it that you came from that background. Was there one incident that began to open you up to your channeling gifts or your new perspective on things?
Let me just tell you in a nutshell, because I don't want to take all the time. The Cryon story of how I got actually to that place where I acknowledged it is a very famous one. It's long, it's funny, but basically there came a time when some situations had happened around me that couldn't happen. There's your father. I talked to him about things that could not actually be true have happened to me, and I saw it. And as the engineer, I said, I can't believe this. And the fleece was always there. I knew that there was coming from many sides. There was a statement. There's a magnetic master named Kryon trying to get a hold of you. I
Wow.
got this from two psychics who were 40 years difference apart, 3 years difference in when I received that. In both times, I didn't want to even have the message given to me, but it was Jan Tober, my wife at the time, who's still working with us, who dragged me to those people. So here I am, and what I had to know. And so I did what the only thing I could do as an engineer. I put a chair in front of me and I spoke to whoever it was that I heard, there was angels or whatever. I didn't believe in any of them, except that I was a good Christian boy. So I did. So I pointed at the chair and I says, this is either real or not. I'm going to sit in the chair one time, show me. That's it. By the way, I encourage that. Do you know that I believe there are angels and guides sitting around all of us
That's
waiting for that?
right. I agree
Absolutely waiting
100%.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
So
won't be
we all
disappointed.
need to put an empty chair in front of us and go,
Yeah.
come on, now or never.
Well, I sat down in the chair, and I'll make this short, but I got what is the equivalent of an NDE experience.
Wow.
I was taken to the other side. I was for a moment, just long enough to hear the music, Sue,
Wow.
and
I
see the
so
light. And
love
so
this.
this was just astonishing to me. It was cause and effect. I said, show me, and I got shown.
Yeah.
I got off the chair so confused and angry. And the first thing that angered me was, why couldn't I have been told about this? I'd been in
Yes.
church all my life. I'd been with good people. I'd been with, pastors and priests. Why was I never told about this?
Yeah.
And everything I received that day, I teach today. And that is we are magnificent. We're not born dirty. God loves us. We are in I would say imbued with the ability to actually change the reality of our life.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we can do. Nobody ever told me. And that
I
took a while.
know. And the great thing about that is to recognize that at that time point, your message was going to have to take a start because it would take a while for humanity to catch up. And as I talk about in numerology, and you talk about in Cryon's work, and in all teachers talk about, we are at that phase now where the universe here is catching up and the world is really finally shifting. But before we go to that conversation, Monika, I love you so much. Tell me your story.
Oh my goodness. You know, for me, there wasn't two psychics with a message. I think I would have preferred that
Yeah.
actually. But for me, like for many, there's an event that defines your life as before and after an event. And that event for me was the dissolution of my marriage. And the circumstance of how that eventuated was that I was happily married. I was wanting children, and we explored having that. And then I had a time where my husband said, you know, I really don't want to have children with you. I don't think we should pursue that. And it was a shock. And I said, well, I just need time to think about this. And I went and stayed with a girlfriend, and I really dug deep, and I thought, you know, it's okay. I will maybe get some counseling to help me with that, but I want to stay with my husband. So I went back and told him the news. And in that next breath, instead of saying, okay, great, we'll work this out together, he said, oh, look, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be with you.
Thank the universe. His frequency wasn't high enough to go on the journey with you.
Oh, well, to me, it cracked me open
Yeah.
because I never thought I would have such grief. I mean, I was body aching, sobbing in an empty house, devastated by that loss. I couldn't understand it. My world had turned upside down overnight, and I was in
I'm
huge
just
grief.
in awe of your story because this is how we know the universe works, that it takes a huge heartbreak of some kind to
Yeah.
kind of get us to change course, and you had that incredible heartbreak of you did all the right things, you gave all the unconditional love you could, even were going to stay in a marriage where you wouldn't get to have children. And then it ended anyway. Well, in numerology, we call that a planned reinvention point, right?
Really, truly. I mean, it's the event that was cascading events of cracking me open. And I moved in with the same friend who I'd been to see. And a week before I was moving in with her, she got a call that her father was having a heart attack, and she raced to be with him, but he passed. And he was a larger than life, beautiful man. So she was now in grief. And at the time, I remember my mother in law, who I loved dearly, she was in a hospice. And so I would be seeing her, and with my husband, we kind of had this agreement. I didn't want to put trauma onto her life.
Yeah.
So we said, oh, we don't know how long she has, but let's just pretend that everything's okay. But there was this pivotal moment where I went to see her, and she was on the phone, and she had this Woman's Weekly magazine and was pointing and said, I want to get you that. I want to get you that. And I pick up the magazine, and it's a lucky bamboo plant for fertility. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I cannot uphold this pretense anymore. And so, you're dealing with raw human issues and emotions, and relationships are one way that we really get to self examine by what's going on. So there was a lot of painful moments of moving through that. And, my father-in-law, he went to hospital with a heart attack and passed. And then my mother-in-law 2 days later. So in a short space of time, all these events just crack you open, strip you bare. And it was the beginning of a quest, really.
Yeah.
How did this happen? What was my part in this? Or how did I attract this? Why did this happen to me? And through that inquiry and through a very loving colleague, I was working as a park ranger in the national parks, and one of the colleagues kept saying to me, "You should go see Linda." I'm like, "Oh, Linda." And he's like, "Linda, she does spiritual healing and Reiki." And I was thinking, "Oh my God, there's no way I want to see Linda." But he kept insisting, because every time we met, I was miserable. I was crying. I was dripping tears into my coffee. And he said, "Go see Linda." So I screamed in my head, "I'm going to go see her so you stop asking and then we're done." But when I did see Linda again, she's like you, Sue. She's so in touch with the angelic realm, and was telling me about my mother-in-law and things about my friend's father who was trying to get a message through that I couldn't, there's an energy there that you feel. So I had sessions with Linda, and the result was that I decided I was going to move to New Zealand. I went back to my friend's place. I was Googling all these ranger jobs that were being offered, and I had 3 interviews. I got 2 job offers and I took one. And the very first week I arrived in New Zealand, and the yoga class I went to, in the meantime, I'm reading lots of books to discover, lots of Doreen Virtue books about angels and the messages. So I turn up in my yoga class and someone gives me Kryon book 7 Letters from Home.
Oh, wow.
And that just really, all the cells of my body were vibrating and reading that. I learned about an energy work by a woman called Peggy Phoenix DeBro, and I knew I had to do that energy work. And it led me eventually to go to South America to do training with Peggy. And I had no idea that Lee Carroll was there with Peggy, because they were going to be doing a conference and a seminar. So we met at the hotel where all of that was happening. And there was this magnetic pull and attraction that was undeniable. Yeah.
Because you two were both coming together to be the mouthpiece for the new spiritual wave of consciousness. So that was unstoppable, we could say.
Well, it was not just marginal. I saw her. I was at breakfast. I saw her across the room. And it was like, ah!
I love that.
What's going on here? And it just struck me. So I think I fell in love right there.
I have chills. That's such a great story. I love it. And Monika, you speak for all the women who have their spiritual awakening through devastating heartbreak. Certainly that was my journey to spiritual awakening. And, Lee shows that many men have it by demanding to understand spiritual principle with their left brains, and suddenly they get handed an experience. But women seem to take it in through the heart like you described. So that's very encouraging. Your story is very encouraging for any person who's going through grief and heartbreak right now. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about this shift of consciousness now, and what Kryon is saying about it and what you two are all saying about it.
You'd have to go back and if I could tell you all the things that are happening right now and have happened for the last 30 years or so have been predicted by the ancients. This is not a surprise. Nothing on this planet is happening by accident. And those predictions really are based in astronomy, astrology, all of the things that the ancients actually could work with. And there are the same message from many, just all over the world. We've studied this. I mean, if you've ever seen the one in America, which is the Hopi Nation, the Hopi prophecy rock, it's just etched into it. It's the same message that we get in Peru. It's the same. It's all over. The ancients knew of what's coming. It's called the precession of equinoxes, and it's about the cycles of consciousness and history that they understood. The biggest example is the Mayan calendar. The 2012 Mayan calendar was not the end of the world. It was the end of one of their cycles. And the cycle that they talked about there was the end of an old energy. And then a new calendar was given at the same time the old calendar disappeared. We didn't get any movies about the new calendar. We only got movies about the old calendar. That's just the way Hollywood works. But if you could see the whole perspective, what I'm about to tell you is that this was expected. Let me give you the statement. I read it on the walls of a Mayan facility, actually a temple facility in Xochicalco, Mexico. And it was right there. And I had it read for me by the man who I was with. And it said, if humanity, this is written on their calendars, if humanity survives this last test, which was the last section, the last cycle of consciousness, if they survive, we will then go into the highest consciousness that humanity has ever seen. Now, this comes right off the walls of that Mayan temple.
I love that.
They knew.
Yeah.
So we are looking at something that was expected. It coincides with the precession of the equinoxes. If you know that there's a wobble in the Earth's, the way it works, and that wobble, and it's a very, very slight wobble because it lasts 26,000 years. It changes what we see in the sky. That's how the Mayans knew about the wobble. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the timing of it, it all stops about now. If we would make it, well, we did make it. It started in 94. It took 5 years to get into it. It ends in 2030. It takes 5 years to get out of it. So we are in the first year now of exiting this very dark time.
And Lee, that totally coincides with the numerology that says 2025 was the ending of a very dark cycle of humanity, a 9 universal year, and that 2026 is now the beginning of the rebirth of our collective consciousness. And that's exactly what you're saying.
Yes, we teach that as well, just as another peg in the proof.
Right.
It's not an error. It's not a mistake. And all the things on the astrology. Now we haven't brought that up yet.
Yeah.
This year has an astrology alignment of the planets that's never been seen before in the history of astrology. That is as far back as they can look. It's never happened. This really truly is there's something happening. Mm-hmm. When there's many things I could talk about, but you've asked about what is bringing us out here.
Right.
We are starting to see a major shift in many things. One thing alone, in 2025, at the end of 2025, Kryon started giving the attributes to expect in 2026 that might be different. And he said, this will be the year where you will try to put together things that were never put together, put conclusions and solutions on things that didn't have that. Sorry. And immediately we got a war.
Well, I love this because I know what you teach, and what Kryon says is that we have to finish the old pattern.
Yep.
And the way we finish it is often we have to go into it again, but then do it differently. Is that what you see happening in this war?
Well, and what I'm saying is you can see it on the major players of the world. In February, we got a war, and it was with Iran. And you take a look at how long has that been hanging out? I've been alive long enough to remember the Iran hostage crisis, 47 years. Mm-hmm. And for 47 years, we've been going like this. And for 47 years, it never got solution. We've been asking, we've been wanting. They have supposedly, we never got together. Finally, right or wrong, whatever, the energy, bam, in February, we got the war. This was to settle it. To whatever happens, to bring solution to something that never had solution before. Exactly what Kryon said. Mm-hmm. We're seeing it. We have a couple of people who have written to us and said, well, this is not a good year for me because my relatives have gone bonkers. I'm having such tribe, and they're yelling and screaming and everything. And I said, and who are they? Well, I've been having trouble with them for 10, 15 years, and why now? Well, I'll tell you why now.
Yeah. Finishing that
And
cycle up,
there's
buddy.
a lot of things going on that point to a new energy, a real new energy. Okay, just last thing. What Kryon said at the beginning of 2026, you have arrived at an energy that has never been on the planet. Now that's something. Never been on the planet. Then we get into the subject of dimensional shift. What is it? Could it be? Is it uniform? Is it only for light workers? But that is the subject. And you'll see that over and over and over. And not for me. We are in it as well. But almost all the teachers are talking about moving into 5D or moving into whatever it is that they feel. People are feeling it. This is opening a door for us to discover more, not just about who we are, but the power we have to affect the planet through compassion.
Yeah, I love that because I work with grieving moms and grieving parents all the time. And it's been remarkable to me how they have the ones that are coming into my classes, they're so quickly now, their child may have only crossed 6 months ago, and now they're signing up for a class on angels and numbers. Like they're going devastation, grief.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready to learn. And, in the past, 20 years ago, it was devastation and grief, and let's hang out in that for 20 years, and then
Yeah.
then we'll be ready to grow. But now people are hitting those heartbreak moments and going, show me this other view that's going to shift how I look at the world. And that's what Kryon is talking about. That now, my question to you is everyone making this shift?
The answer is the planet in general is making a change of energy. And the people who are ready for it will then accept that energy and be changed. There is a very old paradigm that Kryon gives as a metaphor. And it goes like this. You've got a very dark room, and there's a lot of people crowded into that room. They don't trust each other because they can't see each other. They don't know each other, so they're all building walls around each other and all these things, and it's a very bad place to be. It's a place of darkness and untrust. In that room, one person lights a match. The match lighting actually lets the room illuminate just enough so that people can see each other. But more than that, they see other matches. So they begin to light another match. Now, it's not a religion. It's not an organization. It's individuals by themselves discovering a match and lighting it. Slowly, the room then illuminates and people can then see who they are. They're just like everybody else.
Yeah.
The walls come down. They start agreeing. They start trading. This is the very oversimplified what's going on now. So you have this world that is ready now, finally ready for whatever we give them. You pointed it out. It's the first question you asked. What's the difference between 1989 and today with the acceptance of Kryon, the acceptance of channeling? This planet is now ready for this. They're ready for a lot of things. They're ready for ETs to come and land. They're ready for angels to show up. And they'll just go, took you a long time. Whereas
That's
50
right.
years ago, they go,
That's right. We are
Yeah.
saying it took you a long time, and we are ready. And there's even a big Spielberg movie coming out this summer called The Disclosure. So do you think that will happen this summer? What does Kryon say about that?
Kryon gives no timelines, never has, and that's the reason because we have free choice. He's talked about the galactic councils and all these things that are there. The universe is teeming with life. Our galaxy, we're not the only ones. You can't say that you ain't. If you think we are, that's because you haven't looked around.
Right.
You realize there's so many other star systems in just our galaxy alone. They have the same gravity, they have the same chemistry, they have the same gravity, the same physics. And what happened here is not necessarily unique. It happened everywhere. We're just one of the longest ones. We're one of the last ones in the galaxy to have this happen. So we've had a lot of those looking at us, waiting for something. And what they're waiting for is for us to stop warring. so we won't shoot them out of the sky when they show up. And that's almost here. It really is. Even though you see the wars and all that with disclosure, with the movies, here it comes, folks. It's training those who are in the cultures, seeing the movies, seeing the stories, seeing the everything else, to be acceptable for these kinds of things to happen. When it's going to be when our consciousness is ready for it, then it'll appear. And that changes. It changes all the time. There are those, including those I channeled with, who actually put a year on it and said, this is what's going to happen. I love it.
Can we have the year? Give it to us.
I think it's next year.
Oh, that's great. Darn,
Next
it's
year.
not this year. Darn.
No, this is my friend Daryl Anka, who
yes,
channels Bashar.
Yes, Bashar.
And is a great channel. And he's so clear on that. He says, this is what they're saying. Now, if it doesn't happen, that's just because something happened to postpone it, in my opinion. Yeah. But this is how close we are.
I'm so excited because I feel like part of the big problem on Earth is money and economy, fear, and all of that. And, you know, in Star Trek years ago, they would laugh at economic-based societies like Earth, you know. And I've always waited for that economic-based society to be flipped into something else. Like happens in other galaxies and more enlightened planets. And so I feel that that is part of what the shift is letting go of our old way of money and how that has held so many people in fear and meaningless work and all of that. Does Kryon say that that will shift too?
Yeah, he has. And the irony here is that my college degree, I'm an economist.
That's great.
By the way, you can't earn money at. In the 60s, we just went through college saying, I'll take whatever course is the easiest to get out of here, instead of saying, I want to be this or that. So that's just the way it was in the 60s. Well, economy wasn't that easy.
Yeah.
So I got a business degree, an economist, and I can tell you, I see it coming too. And it's different than what people think, because most people don't know how economies work. We need to get rid of banking.
Yes. So how is that going to happen?
Slowly. It doesn't have to fail. And I asked Kryon that many times. Are we going to have to go through like what they did in the Depression? I mean, are we going to go there? And Kryon said, we're smarter than that. We can create as we go. We don't have to go flat and then have to start over again and do the same thing. So I expect this will happen with, I hate to say it, with AI. I think because many people react to AI differently than I do. AI can do a whole lot of bad stuff. It already has because we let it. And it also can, we're not going to get to the stars without it. It's going to cure a major disease.
I agree.
It's going to do a whole lot of things for us. And one of those is to design a way, an economy that lessens banking's impact. So we can do the things.
That is the most positive thing I have ever heard said about AI. I love it.
Yes.
I love that. Well, I personally love AI because they've been helping me. Like I've always been a writer, but the editing part has gotten so exhausting in my old age and my eyes aren't that great. And now I write a chapter, give it to AI and they clean it up and I'm like, oh, thank you. And so I've been cranking out so many books now.
Wait a minute, Reverend Sue, something is wrong here because how can this be with a 25-year-old?
Oh, that is such a good joke. Well, you know, I'm 75, so you do not have me beat in that department.
Yeah.
In fact, I had to go through cataract surgery this year, and to me, that was like something 90-year-old people did, you know? And when my eye doctor said, yeah, you have cataracts, I was like, what? I'm a 16-year-old girl. What are you talking about? And I had to go through it.
I had the surgery when I was 35.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better.
And yes, and that's another story of how when it got worse and I had my retinas pulled off and all kinds of stuff. And I had an angel visit me and it all corrected.
Wow. Well, I'm praying to that angel then because I'm supposed to go back in and they have other stuff they want to do. Okay, good. I'm praying to that eye angel.
The eye angel, I tell you what you do, you visualize everything in focus. Find something that, like I stared out the window of the room I was in, and there was traffic lights down the street until you get to the last one, and I could see a pinpoint light. That was my focus test. And after my surgeries, there was swelling. It didn't get it. I couldn't focus over and over, and was going through all of the things that I knew the Kryon told me to do. And finally, one morning, I woke up and the swelling was absolutely gone, and I could see to the end. That was not what the doctor told me would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just one of many stories about my
Well, the
health.
angels healed me from cancer a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
there you
Wow.
go.
So I'm all into that process. But Monika, I want to hear from you about all this. So take it away.
I love hearing Lee and I love hearing you. And then I get so many visuals. I mean, when Lee was talking about the match bearer, that's one of Cryon's parables of lighting the match and then everybody can seize. I was really comparing that to the energy of this year and why Kryon says this year is a dimensional shift. So if we use, I love parables, I love storytelling, I love visuals. And the other parable Kryon talks about is being the lighthouse. So it's the same principle as the match bearer striking the match in a dark room where people can see. But the concept of a lighthouse is that you are standing and anchoring and emitting light. And those who are in trouble, you don't even know or can not even see them, but they're being able to steer into a safe harbor and passage because of your light that you carry. So here's where I like use metaphor for the energy of 2026. Historically, lighthouses, they're in dangerous positions. They don't go where it's all friendly and nice. So that's also part of what we do as light workers. Sometimes we're called into situations that have drama, or even if you tune in to see the energy of the planet on the war, the horrible things that happen, trafficking, animal abuse, all those aspects. Well, that's like being a lighthouse put into a situation which has energy that you want to avoid. So you can do that with your compassion and send light to those areas. Historically, lighthouses also needed a lighthouse keeper, and they had to go and they had to put the light and be there. But guess what? Technology has changed, and you can go and look this up because nearly 95% of all lighthouses on the earth right now are automated. So I think there's only about 2 or 3, like just a handful of humans that are employed to go and keep maintaining the lighthouse and to make sure the batteries are going and the lights are going. So it's become automatic. In an older energy, for us to really connect and tap into that divine part of us, it was concentrated focus and effort because it wasn't supported necessarily all around us. And so you're constantly striking your match, finding that it's there. But the energy of this year, 2026, with the dimensional shift, if you move into that aspect of yourself, it becomes an automatic lighthouse now, where you don't have to keep
so beautiful
striking the match. And that's where I feel when Kryon said that your consciousness is now being matched by the field and the dimensional shift that is there for you. So the more you can be on the higher ground and in that higher consciousness, the more you become that automatic lighthouse that doesn't need to send someone to go in and light the match and get the light going again.
I love that metaphor because to me it also means that we can either be the ship floundering in the storm and worried about all the things that are terrible on earth, or we can choose to be the lighthouse simply by opening our heart, shining our light, bringing our wisdom, our compassion, all those things that we know are what happens when we open our heart and shine our light of divine consciousness on the world. For each of us to make that choice is kind of where our free will comes in, you know. And are we going to be the one in the storm yelling, "This is terrible, the ship is going down"? Or are we going to be the lighthouse that goes, "Here I am, baby, here I am"?
Mhm. Yeah,
That,
absolutely.
that's so beautiful, Monica.
Oh, well, I just think we are really in extraordinary times where we're getting, it's almost like the pendulum between dark and light is very strongly going to the dark, but then it's also very strongly going to the light because we're really in this unsettling part of it. Even the planets are still moving and it still hasn't settled in. So I mean, if we can talk about the energy of next year,
Yes,
2027,
go right ahead.
we haven't even we haven't even got there yet. But Lee mentioned the precession of the equinox, and I just want to briefly mention the Mayan calendar. It ended in 2012, and a lot of people look at that as the end of the cycle. But the 2012 event, because it's looking at cycles of time, recurring movements of the planet, the sun, and the sun is 1.5 degrees wide, and it takes 36 years to precess through the galactic equator. So that means the 2012 event, it's actually a 36-year event, and it began in 1994 and it concludes in 2030. But Kryon said it took about 5 years of really getting into that potent energy of change that would come with that precession of the equinox. And that potent energy of change is what we call the shift. It's a shift of human consciousness. So 2025 is really that last gasp of that potent energy of change and that shift to occur. And 2026 marks the beginning of 5 years to come out of the shift. So 2026, this is the first year of 5 of coming out of something. And if you look at a patient who might have been in a coma and there they are, they've just woken up, they're out of the coma. There's so much joy and celebration, but it takes a little bit of time adjusting to being awake now. The muscles that have laid there and may not have been used, it's going to take a little bit of time in catching up and getting the body prepared and back to being the renewed person. And so we're in that period where we have just woken up from a coma of darkness
Oh,
and low
wow. That feels
consciousness
so
energy.
right. You know, that's exactly how I feel it too. It's like we have all been sleeping. Some of us have been trying to wake up and see the light and carry the light, but then we kind of go through things that put us back in that coma. But now it's like we're all waking up and we're looking around at each other going, "Wow, you're here too."
Yeah, exactly. So next year is even going to have more amazing, potent things because this is the year to kind of resolve things. And once you get the solution to things in your life, even on a personal level, if you have been wanting things to resolve, or you've always felt that you were meant to write that book, or you were meant to create that painting, or whatever it is, the moment you start, there's going to be so much energy behind you to support the things that really light you up and bring you joy, and you'll meet the synchronicity you need to meet. And it's all like we're walking on the pathway now where it's just going to keep expanding and opening and expanding and opening, and there's so much promise for the future if you can keep going. Don't give up. Look for I think look forward, don't look behind. Yeah.
Monika, you are such an angelic realm soul. You really are. Even just the frequency of your voice, I just feel it in you. And as you know, I communicate with the angels too. And I think my soul originated in the angelic realm. You are my sister. I feel it. I feel it
Oh,
in everything you say. So,
yeah.
so I
Me
don't want to leave
too.
Lee out. Let's get Lee back in here too. Now, what are the parting advice or words you would both like to give the listeners before we go?
Before I give any parting words, I would like to let's rewind for a moment to 2027.
Ah,
Now, Reverend Sue, you do the numerology. I've been steeped in one kind of, there's many kinds, as you know. And mine, I had a mentor who taught me Tibetan.
mm.
So in Tibetan numerology, we have very startling news about 2027. It's an 11.
Ooh,
Now,
wow.
11 in Tibetan numerology is light. It's
Yeah,
Illumination.
illumination.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so if we look at that, and I believe in numerology, there's
yeah.
no mistakes. And as you pointed out, we had a 9 year in 2025, a 1 year
Yeah,
in 2026, new beginnings. Here we come with illumination.
yeah,
This
I
is
agree.
the beginning of the manifesting the things from this year that we have been working on and have settled. So this is a year of settling it. Next year, we start coming out in the light, and it goes from there. So I guess I could just wrap this up in my parting thoughts. Number one, there is still a lot of, I would say, energies in our culture that want to frighten us, sell us things, bring us back to the way things were. It's uncomfortable for all institutions to start having those who are awakening to what's wrong with them or looking at them as old energy, including banking. But you are going to have this for some time. And one of the worst ones in my case, and worst only because it's so influential, is don't watch the news. Just don't watch it. Instead, if you like to know what's happening in your country, go to a place that's where it's written, wherever that is, because to write these articles, you're dealing with mostly real journalists. You're not dealing with entertainers who have an agenda to give you the worst news possible and nothing good and to sell you what's next. That's what the news gives you today. They're not bad people. They're just on an old agenda and doing what they do well. And what they do well is they're entertainers.
I
So
know. Do you
that's the
know I
first.
went to journalism school in the 80s and I was a print journalist. I wrote for newspapers and magazines. And I completely agree with you because we had to really research. We had to interview people to get the facts right. It would be fact checked over and over. It is such a different process than going on TV and just reading a soundbite for the audience, you know. So I love that you say read the news. That
Yes.
speaks to my old journalist heart.
Well, if you look at it, it's even more when you have those on TV, and I know how it works, is that you're still reading it off of uh, the press that's written or the news that's coming in. Used to be the AP teletype, and
Yeah.
you're still reading that as give. But you have a producer who will say, "Read this section, read this next section, read this next section." So you're not getting it as a journalist would give it to you. They can't do that. They can't bop around. Okay, I'm stopping my article. Go read his, and then come back later and read mine. You've got to read the whole thing. And you're right. They're professionals mostly, and they're not just writers. They have to be vetted to be
Hmm.
journalists. So that's the first news I would give anybody. The second thing I would say, don't let anybody tell you how the world is going to go or how your life is going to go, because that's the next thing. So we still have lots of the old energy. And Sue, you even said it, that they are in trouble and they're going to yell are in trouble from the highest rooftop, and they want to involve you too. And if that's the case, and you're only getting negativity from relatives, friends, partners, whatever, I'll just tell you, remove yourself in some ways, or remove yourself in enough ways that they won't bother you anymore when they realize they're not getting the reaction that they
Hmm.
want. They want you to join them, complain with them, and be afraid with them. And when you're not, you're the match bearer, and some of them will come to you and say, I don't know how you do it, but tell me. Then you get a chance to tell them how you feel about your life and what you've discovered.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Monica, what are your parting words for us?
I think always find your bliss, find your joy point. What is it that sparks you and brings you alive? Because when you find something that you're really passionate about, it's this cascading ripple out effect. And I'll just give a very quick example. You heard from Lee. He's the electronics engineer, the nerd, geek. You know, his ultimate heaven is being locked in a dark room with all his editing equipment and doing all the editing of audios and everything like that. Mine, I light up by being in nature. And so somehow we have, this magnetic attraction that Lee and I share. We've ended up with this nerd and a nature geek together. It works. It just somehow works. And so last night, because I'm a member of the Botanic Garden, I said there's a night for the orchids in the wild. It's a special collection, and they have this guest speaker that's coming. And Lee's always enthusiastic, come and join in my passion and what I love. So we went there last night, and there was a gentleman who has spent years traveling the world, taking photographs of, I think he said he had over 3,000 photos of orchids in the wild, and he's published different books on them. And he was sharing pictures of these rare orchids that are almost impossible to see or find. And he was so passionate about it that everyone in the audience felt that. And then you connect in an even deeper way to the orchid exhibition as you go around looking at the beauty of nature. And that's why I say to anyone listening, really spend time finding what is your joy point, what lights you up. And we're in a pivotal time right now where we're entering a cycle that brings about renewal, regeneration. What script in your life do you want to flip around and move into? Because right now there are so many energies supporting this creation of something magical and new for the story and script of your life.
Oh, you too. This has been my all-time favorite episode. Don't tell any of my other guests, but this has just shifted my energy so beautifully. I have been so honored to have Lee and Monica. Of course, I'm forgetting Lee's last name. I'm sorry. Lee Carroll, known as Kryon Channel, and Monika Muranyi. And if you want to learn more about their amazing work, what is the website they should go to?
Cryonmasters.com. It tells you the how to obtain I would say the best thing we do, and that is every single Wednesday night, and we have now for 6 years, almost 300 programs. We come do an hour and a half. Believe you've been on that show.
I have. It's a great show, great energy.
And so that's where you'll find that, plus any of the courses we're doing. Everything we do online is there.
All right. Well, you guys, you have done so much work for so many decades to get consciousness to this point. It's an honor to know you and call you friends. And thank you so much for today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure from us. We love you.
We love you.